The Santa Rosa cartel picked the wrong day and the wrong man when they targeted the Rio Grande detention facility in Rio Seco, Texas. Their intelligence had failed to mention that the ordinary-looking security chief, Robert Chandler, was a legendary Delta Force commander with blood-soaked hands, 27 years of eliminating America's enemies etched into his very being. As shadows loomed over the facility like dark clouds on the horizon, cartel hitmen advanced stealthily toward the perimeter. They believed they had the element of surprise, the advantage of numbers, and a plan that had worked countless times before. What they didn't realize was that lurking within the walls was a man who had turned the tides of many battles, and today would be no different. Inside, Robert stood by the observation window, the moon casting long shadows across his tan uniform. He watched the monitors as the cartel operatives positioned themselves for the assault, a quiet storm brewing in the depths of his blue eyes. In his heart, he felt the familiar adrenaline surge, the thrill of combat, the itch for retribution. Chandler. Elena Vasquez's voice cut through the silence, snapping him back to reality. She was hunched over her computer station, the glow of the screens illuminating her determined face. We've got movements along the south fence. It's them. We need to act fast. Robert's resolve hardened. How many? Looks like at least 20. Elena's fingers danced over the keyboard, bringing up satellite images that highlighted the intruders' positions. They are coordinating, trying to flank us. He allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. 20 against 1, at least in their minds, but Robert had faced odds far worse. We need to lock it down now. Activate all security protocols and prepare to engage. As they implemented lockdown procedures, alert sirens wailed through the facility, supplemented by the staccato sound of steel doors slamming shut. The atmosphere crackled with tension, a rising tide of anticipation that flowed through Robert's veins. Elena glanced over her shoulder, worry etched on her brow. They are moving faster than I anticipated. We might not have time to secure all the exits. Then we do what we were trained to do, he replied, a hint of a grin tugging at his lips. We fight. With that, he motioned for his team of guards, all handpicked for their expertise and unwavering loyalty. They gathered around him, ready and willing to do whatever it took to protect the detainees and their facility. Each of them wore the unmistakable resolve of a soldier, a glimmer of readiness in their eyes. The sound of gunfire erupted from just outside the facility as the cartel attempted to breach the fences. Contact. Robert shouted, sprinting toward the east wing where the commotion was thick. His mind trained itself for battle, navigating the memories of countless firefights, the echo of bullets, the taste of dust mingled with blood, and the sweet symphony of survival. Elena fell in step beside him, reporting as they moved. They are trying to breach the main entrance. We need to push them back. Let's give them a welcome they won't forget. They arrived at the control room, gripping their weapons tightly as they peered through the reinforced glass. The scene outside was chaos. Cartel operatives were already climbing over the south fence, armed to the teeth, their faces obscured by masks. Robert peered closer, every instinct honed. Elena, set up a sniper position. See if you can't pick off the first wave before they get too close. She nodded and moved swiftly to position herself alongside a nearby window with a clear view of the perimeter, her training kicking in as she prepared to eliminate threats with precision. Meanwhile, Robert turned to his team, eyes fiery with determination. Hold the line and focus on keeping them away from the administrative wing. Gabriella's safety depends on us. More shots rang out as the cartel began their assault with reckless abandon. Robert kicked open the door leading to the south corridor, signaling his team to follow. They charged forward, every muscle coiled like a spring, instinct guiding their movements. As they neared the entrance, Robert spotted a group of cartel gunmen taking cover behind an abandoned vehicle parked outside. A faceless roar of adrenaline surged within him, a primal call to arms. Suppressing fire. Robert shouted, charging into the open. His teammates fell into formation around him, their guns raised as they poured fire into the cartel's position. But just then, as chaos unfolded like a dark tapestry, their position drew fire from a hidden light machine gun. The bullets zipped past, sparking against the concrete walls. Fall back. Robert barked, diving behind cover. He could see Elena's silhouette shifting, her sniper's eye focused through her scope, ready to retaliate. "Got one," she called out, her voice steady even amid the chaos. The sound of a body hitting the ground was gratifying amidst the gunfire. But two men surged forward from the cover, directly aiming for Robert's squad. He pushed off his cover, rushing toward them with a ferocity that surprised even him. With years of training anchored in muscle memory, he fought like a man possessed, taking out one assailant with a swift elbow strike to the ribs, driving his knee into the second man's face before he hit the ground. "Cover your corners," he shouted, pushing himself to the flank while his team fired their weaponry. The lines of combat were blurring, adrenaline drowning any thoughts of what awaited them at the end. Robert moved into the thick of it, firing strategically as he wove through the turmoil. Each shot was calculated, each movement precise. Eluding the chaos around him, Robert found a vantage point, leveling his weapon on a group of cartel men now fighting furiously to breach the main entrance. Then, with a roar of battle cried out, he heard the unmistakable sound of a grenade entering the fray, landing smack inside the cluster of cartel members trying to push through. "Fall back," someone shouted, but it was too late. The explosion rocked the ground, sending debris and bodies alike scattering like paper caught in a whirlwind. "Move, move, move." Robert yelled to his team, rallying them as they surged forward into the opening created by the blast. This was the heart of the fight, and Robert could feel the tide beginning to turn in their favor. No longer were they the hunted. They were predators now, and the prey was panicking. "Secure the entrance," he commanded, as they entered a now deserted space littered with the remnants of combat. He scanned the surrounding walls, knowing that the fight wasn't over yet. "Where are the rest of them?" Regrouping, Elena chimed in, still perched near her sniper position. "I've got eyes, but it looks like they are falling back." Growing aware that time was fleeting, Robert decided to press the advantage. "Don't let them escape. If they regroup, we'll lose everything." In that moment, he felt the weight of consequence like a looming shadow. The possibility of failure jolted him. He couldn't let that happen. He wouldn't. As Robert charged forward with renewed vigor, the flicker of revenge burned in his soul, driving him onward. Whatever the cost, he would protect those within his walls, and he would ensure that the Santa Rosa cartel learned a lesson they would never forget. As they pressed forward, Robert's instincts remained sharp, each sound of chaos fueling his resolve. He wasn't just fighting for a facility, for political maneuvering, or for orders. He was fighting for redemption, standing tall against the darkness of a world long stained by blood. For Robert Chandler, today, they had picked the wrong man. He would make sure they regretted it. For Robert Chandler, today, they had picked the wrong man. He would make sure they regretted it. As he charged forward with purpose, bullets zipped past him, a deadly symphony that thrummed in his ears and set his heart racing. The air was heavy with smoke and adrenaline, and Robert could feel the electrifying pulse of combat coursing through him. He turned the corner and spotted a group of cartel operatives regrouping behind a row of abandoned vehicles. They thought they had escaped the initial storm, but Robert's eyes narrowed, calculating his approach. "Flank them from the left," he shouted to Elena and Torres, who were right behind him. "Make them think they have breathing room." As his teammates moved swiftly into position, Robert fell into a crouch, preparing to unleash a weaponized storm of chaos. Adrenaline fueled his every move as he counted down in his head. 3, 2, 1. Now. With a ferocity that showcased his training, Robert leapt from his cover, unleashing a barrage of gunfire onto the unsuspecting cartel members. The crack of his weapon punctuated the air, each bullet finding its mark as confusion erupted within the enemy ranks. His team followed suit, supporting him with a wave of firepower that pushed the cartel operatives back like a receding tide. "Keep it up. Don't let them breathe." Robert urged, his instincts guiding him through the melee. He could see Elena's outline moving swiftly like a predator, each shot from her rifle methodically thinning out their opposition. But just as Robert thought they were gaining ground, a new wave of cartel reinforcements, larger than before, flooded into view from the east. It was a grim realization that they could be outmaneuvered. "Fall back," he shouted, recognizing that they needed to fortify their position. "Retreat to the North Hall. Find cover." As they retreated, Robert could feel the strain of their earlier firefight taking its toll. Just moments ago, They were on the offense, but now the tide seemed to shift ominously against them. Gunshots rang out from multiple directions as they reached the corridor leading towards the administrative wing, the echoes informing him of the encroaching threat. "Get to the control room," Robert bellowed as they dashed down the hall, adrenaline coursing through his veins. "We can barricade the doors and regroup." The skirmish intensified at their heels. Shadows danced against the walls as men shouted in Spanish, rallying to reclaim their momentum. Robert's team pressed on, knowing that the fate of Gabriella, and perhaps their own lives, hung in the balance. They smashed through the door leading into the control room, quickly securing it behind them. Panting heavily, Robert turned to assess his team's condition. Elena looked winded but was otherwise unharmed. Torres had a cut on his brow. The reality of their situation weighed heavily in the air, a reminder that they were all targets now. Robert glanced at the monitors, which displayed various vantage points of the facility. "Where's Sarah?" he demanded, searching for their resident IT specialist and communications expert who would be crucial in coordinating defense. "She's holed up in her station," Torres replied shakily, glancing at the monitors filled with the chaos from outside. "I can't believe they came at us like this." "And they brought reinforcements," Robert muttered under his breath, strategizing their next steps. "We need to reach Sarah and secure all comms." Elena, already working the console, suddenly exclaimed, "They are attempting to breach the back entrance. We have to warn her." That was their lifeline, the security systems and communication lines that could turn the tide of the battle. Without hesitation, Robert took charge again. "Elena, stay here and keep an eye on the feeds. Contact Sarah. I'll go back to the security station. Torres, you're with me." With a nod, Torres followed Robert as they crept back down the corridor, moving quickly but cautiously. The sounds of battle were louder now, echoing the urgency of their mission. Every corner they turned brought the potential for confrontation. As they approached the security station door, Robert raised his weapon, signaling Torres to do the same. They could hear voices just beyond, punctuated by the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Robert pushed gently against the door, peeking through the small window. What he saw sent a wave of determination crashing through him, a cluster of cartel members, all armed, converging on Sarah's position. "Looks like they are about to breach," he whispered, anger sparking in his chest. "We can't let that happen. Wait for my mark." As the cartel operatives closed on Sarah's station, Robert felt the weight of their shared history. This wasn't just another mission to him. It was personal. He could recall Sarah's laughter during the calmer days at the facility, the camaraderie they built over countless shifts. Today, she was not just a colleague. She was family. "Now," Robert exclaimed, kicking the door open and lighting up the first operative, who was caught unaware. The impact of his bullet seemed to freeze the moment, a snapshot of chaos as the rest turned to face this new threat. "Get to Sarah," Robert shouted, focusing his fire on the second cartel member while Torres pushed past him, rushing toward Sarah's station. Bullets whizzed past, ricocheting off the walls. The tension hung thick in the air, every heartbeat echoing as they fought for survival. "Hold the line," Robert yelled, his heart thrumming in rhythm with the chaos around him. But just as he fired at another target, the last remaining cartel thug dove for cover, and suddenly, a fierce rush of incoming fire surged in their direction. Torres ducked behind a console, narrowly avoiding being hit. "They are pushing back. We need to take them out." Locked in this moment, Robert felt the focus sharpen. They were several against many, but he couldn't let fear dictate their fate. Drawing upon an instinct that blazed within him, Robert moved with purpose. He charged forward, sprinting toward the remaining cartel members, determined to keep their momentum. In a blow of movement, Robert took calculated shots, spinning and weaving like a dancer amid the chaos, his mind clear and focused. But just as victory appeared within reach, a sharp pain erupted in his shoulder, spinning him off balance. He stumbled backward, clutching the wound, fighting through the haze of pain that threatened to overwhelm him. "Robert." Elena's voice rang through the comm, worry washing over her tone. "What's happening?" Torres took aim at Robert's assailant, catching the thug off guard and neutralizing him. "We can't lose you now, Chandler." "I'm fine," Robert wheezed, forcing himself to stand straight again. "Just another scratch. Let's finish this." As Sarah emerged from a hiding place, disheveled and wide-eyed, Robert felt the fire rekindle in his heart. "Sarah, we need access to the security feeds. Can you lock down this section and cut them off?" "Yes, I can," she replied, rallying herself and rushing to her console. "Just give me a moment." Suddenly, the doors rattled, and an intense crash surged through as cartel members began to forcibly push against the barrier. "Get ready." Robert gritted his teeth, adrenaline surging as bullets began to tear through the wood of the barricade. "Elena, you have to move faster." "I'm almost there," she shouted back, her determination fiery. "Just a few more seconds." Robert felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, every breath laden with urgency. He knew they needed to act decisively. As the door splintered beneath the relentless assault, he turned to his team. "We'll hold them off. Just get that gas out." "Now," Elena cried, completing the final command. Within seconds, a groan echoed through the ventilation system, slowly filling the air with the choking gas, now aimed back towards those who had unleashed it. "You've got to be kidding," Robert muttered as the door burst inward, revealing a sea of cartel operatives rushing towards them. The moment hung in the air, electrifying, until, almost instantaneously, the once confident faces of the cartel turned to confusion, then panic. The gas poured into the corridor behind them, thick and suffocating, driving them back as they choked and stumbled, desperate to escape. "Now, push!" Robert shouted, feeling the adrenaline rushing back with renewed force. Get them while they are disoriented. Emboldened, they charged through the remnants of the barricade, moving as a unit against the chaos unraveling before them. The once certain cartel operatives were now vulnerable, disoriented by the gas. Robert felt the weight of the moment driving him forward, taking down enemy combatants one after another, each movement a testament to their wild tenacity. The tide was shifting, rebirth amid the debris of battle. They were more than just defenders. They were a force, pushing through the chaos toward victory and survival. With every step into the onslaught, Robert felt a fierce fire igniting within, propelling him forward, determined to reclaim their ground and ensure that the day belonged to them. As the gas swirled in the air, and the cries began to fade into the edges of chaos, the taste of victory emerged sweet and intoxicating. Robert Chandler would not let this day end in darkness. He would emerge from this storm, a beacon against the very shadows threatening to consume them. And as he charged deeper into the battle, he knew, together, they would rewrite the narrative of this day, bonded by courage and the unyielding spirit that could not and would not be broken. And as he charged deeper into the battle, he knew, together, they would rewrite the narrative of this day, bonded by courage and the unyielding spirit that could not and would not be broken. With renewed strength surging through him, Robert moved forward, navigating the chaos with precision. The moments felt as if they stretched on endlessly, time bending under the weight of the intensity surging through the air. The gas served to disorient the cartel operatives, leaving them stumbling and frantic, their previous confidence shattered. Beside him, Torres fired shot after shot, expertly taking down the enemies caught in the throes of panic. "They are losing ground," Torres exclaimed, adrenaline lacing his voice. "Keep up the pressure." Elena, having moved to Robert's side, dashed into the fray, her rifle held steady, as she pushed past fragments of what was once a strong front for the cartel. "We can't let them regroup," she shouted, her voice rising above the din. Robert nodded, feeling the rush of adrenaline coursing through his veins. Together, they pressed forward into the fray, a well-coordinated unit refusing to be swallowed by the chaos consuming them. As they advanced, Robert saw the once fearsome cartel crumbling, confusion and terror overtaking them as they battled against the gas and their disjointed formation. "Push," he shouted, feeling a surge of hope surge through him. "Let's finish this." They charged ahead, the enemy scattering as Robert's team moved with ferocity and determination. With each enemy taken down, hope crystallized within him, a fragile light in the darkness. But just as victory seemed tangible, a larger figure loomed at the back of the squad, the cartel leader, a man known for his ruthlessness and cunning. He stood there, eyes blazing with fury and desperation, barking orders at his men who were slowly losing their grip on the situation. The sight sent a spark coursing through Robert's core. The battle wasn't over. Not yet. Focus on him," Robert yelled, locking eyes with Torres and Elena. "We stop him, we cripple their command." In a furious rush, they pushed toward the leader. The gas hung thick in the air, but determination blinded them to fear. They had come too far, fought too fiercely. The cartel leader unleashed a hail of bullets from his position, bodies falling around them as adrenaline surged through Robert's veins. He felt a tug of fear settle in his chest but refused to yield. "On me," he shouted, leaping forward, his vision focused solely on the man who had ordered chaos upon their lives. As the cartel leader turned to face them, his expression was one of bitter rage, a stark reminder of the danger that lay ahead. "You think you can take me down? You all fools," he roared, eyes darting among his struggling men. "Fools," Robert replied, gritting his teeth as he prepared to fire. "Who put this fight on themselves?" In that split second, everything calmed. The chaotic world around them fell silent, and a sense of clarity emerged. Robert felt time slow, the air loading with tension. He steadied his aim, locking onto the cartel leader's heart, knowing that this was a moment that could tilt the scale from darkness to dawn. "Now," he shouted, as he fired, the bullet soaring through the air with deadly intent. In the chaos of battle, it struck true, a single shot that would weave through the haze and shatter the cartel's stronghold. The leader staggered, surprise etched upon his face, before collapsing into the chaos that surrounded him. With their command crumbled and their will broken, panic raced through the remaining cartel members as chaos enveloped them. They scattered like leaves in the wind, retreating back into the shadows from which they had emerged. The tide had turned. Victory would soon belong to Robert and his team. Breathing heavily amidst the remnants of battle, Robert looked at Torres and Elena, who were wide-eyed in disbelief. "Did we just?" Torres stammered, staring wide-eyed at the retreating figures. "Yes." Robert allowed himself a smile, although faint. "We did." As the last remnants of the cartel fled, a wave of exhaustion washed over Robert, and reality began to seep back through the adrenaline and chaos. They had survived. This battle had marked a chapter, but as Sayre's voice crackled back to his earpiece, he felt the bittersweet tangle of victory. "Everyone, report." Sayre's voice came through, laced with tension but containing relief. "We're here." Robert replied, the smile spreading across his face at the sound of her voice. "We've pushed them back. You're safe now, Sayre." "Thank God," she breathed, relief palpable through the comms. "Everything's in place. We need to get everyone into evacuation protocol. Supplies are minimal, but we've secured a corridor. Let's move, then." Robert straightened up, his heart lifting in tandem with his team. They would leave this battlefield, not unscathed, surely, but with scars marking a hard-fought victory. "Robert," Elena said, her voice quiet but steady. "Is it over?" He paused, glancing back at the scattered remnants of the conventional warfare they had waged. "It's over today," he replied, conviction settling into his tone. "But we have much to rebuild." As they began their retreat toward the newly secured evacuation path, a sense of unity surged among them. Each step they took echoed with the trials they'd faced, binding them together forever. In the aftermath of battles fought and lost, they still stood together, a testament to their strength and resilience. They had faced the storm and emerged from the darkness, united under one banner, the unyielding will to fight back against the shadows, to reclaim their lives and their future. They would heal, they would rebuild, and they would honor the lived lives amidst the wreckage, for they had fought for more than just victory. They had fought for each other. And as they stepped into the light, Robert felt a glimmer of hope blossom anew within him, a soft reminder that no matter how dark the battle, the dawn would always break through the horizon. Together, they would step into a brighter tomorrow.